Oh, a tough loss for the Utah Hockey Club to the Edmonton Oilers. Robyn and I are going to talk about it. What now for this hockey team? Well, we'll let you know. This is the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in, as always, to the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Thanks for making us your first listen every single day when it comes to the Utah Hockey Club. I'm veteran NHL voice Tom Callahan, joined by longtime team analyst Robyn Leaño, and together we're going to break down this 7-1 loss to the Edmonton Oilers. Oh, that's a tough one, especially given the results that we're looking at from Tuesday night's games. We're going to talk about that. But before we get into all that, want to let you know this episode's brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Robyn, I have a lot of directions I can take this loss in. We've both been around the game a long time. We've been around this franchise a long time. And sometimes when you get punched in the face and lose 7-1, it serves as a wake-up call and you move on. Sometimes when it happens, you say, you know what? It was a clunker. We stunk. We really couldn't afford it this time of year, which they couldn't, but we can move on. Or it could be the symptoms of deeper problems. So, and it could be shades of all three, right? So I'm interested to get your opinion. What do you think watching that 60 minutes?
To me, it's I think this is one in which maybe the team just wasn't awake. Maybe it was one of those you talked about. You talked earlier this season, right, about naps. We've talked all season about consistently inconsistent this team is, and how they'll have occasionally a bad game. The only difference is, Tom, this is the worst game that they've had this season, and I think even statistically speaking, their worst loss by score deficit. But that said, having a loss like this late in the season, it worries me. It very well worries me, Tom.
To me, and I've said this after a couple of games this year, Robyn, and I'll just reuse the phrase because I think it's very apt and it describes exactly what I'm thinking. This is the gap. This is the gap between a Stanley Cup contender and a Utah Hockey Club that's trying to figure out if they're even a playoff contender yet. And there's no shame in being at that phase of the development where Utah is right now, but I think it's a very clear illustration of what that difference is. Now, McDavid is a devastating player. He made Sergachev look silly tonight. He made Cole look silly tonight. Anybody wearing a Utah uniform, he pretty much made them look silly. Mm-hmm. Edmonton showed me a couple of things that are going to require attention. Number one, Utah's defense cannot handle attacking speed, especially through the neutral zone. Their gaps were bad. Their timing was bad. And Edmonton was able to just fly right into the zone and attack off the rush time and time again. Mm-hmm. Plus, the defensive gaps being bad and the awareness being bad. How many stretch passes did we see, breakaway passes to Edmonton forwards? It was insane. The amount of times guys were just breaking in alone. Look, I don't think either goaltender played well tonight. Don't get me wrong, but holy cow, it must have felt like a shooting gallery back there.
Yeah, and I will say this, as you said, not that, and not to say it's not really to decide how the goaltenders played tonight, but I will say because of how everything went, and I really think that pulling Vejmelka and after going down 3-0, put in Sauber was the best thing that Utah could have done. Is at that point, it's just you got to give him the break. That was Vejmelka's 11th straight start, Tom.
He's never done that before.
Yeah. So, like, at that point, when you're down by that much and you see already where this game is trending, pulling in favor of Stauber, I feel like was a smart move. Did it probably could it have contributed a little bit to the confidence of the team and go down the rabbit hole how this game ended up being? That's up for debate. You could really look at it any other way, but yeah, you talked about the defense, Tom, and if you hadn't have brought it up, I would have talking about those stretch passes and how many times it led to just straight up giveaways and breaks in the other direction. I was shaking my head and putting my head down every single time. I'm like, have they not learned? Have they not learned? They've made mistakes like this earlier this season. I thought they would have learned from it at this point.
Robyn, that's the other thing too. Not only the speed and the attacking speed of the Oilers, but I thought the mental game for Utah was lacking tonight. Decisions with the puck were poor. Care to be taken of the puck was poor, and there were times where Edmonton pretty much just took the puck back in the offensive zone from the forwards, from the defense. They were forcing them to make bad or erratic plays, horribly thought out passes. They knocked Utah out of their system because they made them feel frantic and like they had to play catch up and chase the game, which they did from a fairly early point in the hockey game. Utah never got around to really implementing its game plan, and that's the worst thing you can do when you're trailing is get away from your own game plan, especially before the game gets out of hand. Now, once the game's out of hand, whatever, at this point, you might as well, throw some stuff at the wall, see what sticks.
Yeah. I mean, also at the same time, Tom, I'll even add this. Like, I don't think it really helps in any way. Like, I think it probably really hurt in this case. I mean, definitely hurt. Like first power play of the game, and then going and allowing a shorthanded goal. Like that happened within 30 seconds after you get your first power play.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I mean, since you brought it up, looking at that scoring wrap, that was the first goal of the game. It was a 12-28. Nugent Hopkins is 17th, and you're right. The penalty against Nurse was at 12:02, so it was 26 seconds until that puck goes in the net. Then Edmonton tacks on two more, Hyman and McDavid. And McDavid, that's a backbreaker, right? 4 seconds left. That hurts. Just, I hate seeing it for this team, but you're down 3-0. That was the end of the night for Veg. That was a sweet move by McDavid, though. It's kind of funny to hear the national analysts on the ESPN broadcast, which is what I was watching.
Yep.
They're looked like McDavid almost lost the puck there at the end, and he just poked it past Vejmelka. I'm like, no, that is not what happened. Go back and watch that clip. McDavid is flying through the neutral zone, and by the way, what a lead from Evan Bouchard. But he comes in and he starts to go to the forehand. He's not losing the puck. It's out in front of him, but he's protecting the puck out in front of him from the defenseman behind him, and he slides it. I mean, slots it. Perfect. Inside the far post. That's what he wanted to do. He wasn't losing the puck. That wasn't a panic chip from Connor McDavid. That was
that's
fully intentional.
That's the mark of an elite hockey player right there.
Yeah.
He knew very well what he was doing.
Yeah.
That's a play. That's part of that's part of what these incredible hockey plays and dangles that we're seeing these days.
That's it. And so it became 5-0 halfway through the game. Hyman, then Potskolzin scores at 9:53. It's 5-0. The game's half over. Durzi did get on the board. That was nice to see. That was an absolute rocket from the point, and that came after a power play had expired. So there was zone time. There were some chances. That's encouraging. But then Ekholm 33 seconds in. And Robyn, there was a point when it was 5-1. Jersey scored late. I thought to myself, in the last 3.5 minutes of that period, if they could make it 5-2, maybe I could see them trying to mount a comeback. But, I mean, it was Edmonton again after that. Like I say, Ekholm 33 seconds in, and then Arvidsson at 2:36. That was the end of it. I mean, from that point, you're just holding on, trying not to give up 8.
Yeah. At that point, it's just like you just gotta just got to survive this absolute bombardment you're getting. Just don't make it. Stop the bleeding. Don't let it get any worse. Do what you can and see how it turns out there. But it was. I think no matter what, it was a tough one to watch.
Yeah. Oh, no, it was. It was very tough to watch. And that third period crawled. It was hard. Edmonton outshoots Utah 42-31. Both teams over 3 on the power play. So, Robyn, I don't know. This there's a lot more to talk about. I actually do have a surprising upside that I want to share with everybody coming out of all this. But I also think there's a few other points to be made on this. Plus, later on, if you're watching on YouTube, you see a little bullet there that says NHL owner rankings. That was interesting. The Athletic posted those. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on as well. But still breaking it down here. 7-1 loss to the Edmonton Oilers. And we'll be right back here on the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. And today's show is brought to you in part by Game Time. There's nothing like watching basketball live. The energy of the crowd, the sound of the sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sighting at courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. There's a new feature, Game Time Picks, which filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. I love checking the Game Time app. There's amazing deals. There's some huge matchups coming up. There's a couple of basketball tournaments, in case you haven't noticed, coming up. Game Time Picks even highlights the super deals for you. So it just shows you which deals are the best bang for your buck, and you get to preview the seats before you buy it. There's no surprise fees when you toggle on the all-in pricing, and I always recommend that you do that, and a lowest price guarantee so you can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. And today's show also brought to you by Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? I mean, between dining out and online shopping and entertainment and buying tickets to all your favorite hockey and basketball games, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in as your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, your investments, and your spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money, and now you're going to build wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track your spending, and even look at your long-term planning goals. So if you're starting to get to the point like I am, where you're really having a hard look at your investments, especially in a tumultuous market, you've got it right in front of you every single time you log into the app. Managing your money is smoother than ever. Even with a partner, you can track shared and personal accounts. You can split those up, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use our code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com. Make sure you go to the website, monarchmoney.com, for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you. Robyn, 7-1, lost to Edmonton here tonight. By the way, if you're still here and you haven't yet hit the subscribe button, please do so. Follow along here, as it's going to be a lot of ups and downs, peaks and valleys, but, you know, if you live in the mountains, you're used to that. As we come down this playoff stretch, Robyn, you did the graphic sheet tonight for the show, and the first bullet says worst loss of the season. The second says where to go from here. So I'm just going to put those 2 bullet points to you and say, okay, if this is the worst loss of the season, then where indeed do you go from here?
I mean, here's my thought process on this, Tom, and it's kind of like a little bit of a like kind of like a lead to kind of how you started off this show and say, hey, there's different ways you can take this, take these games. If a loss like this, and I've been saying it multiple times. I say it way too many times. I always have hopes and expectations that these games are, quote, learning opportunities. But at this point, and I'll say it again, at this late in the season, it needs to be a learning opportunity, because what's going on now for Utah is they already know every game at this point. Every game is practically a playoff game. Their playoff hopes are slowly glimmering away. This point, are they gonna not have to worry about that anymore? Are they not gonna worry about making the playoffs? Are they gonna give up, or are they gonna still give it all they got and give it a shot? What are we gonna see?
And I think coming off a game like this, again, I kind of outlined the different ways you can go, and there's probably every mixture of in between. But Robyn, this is if I were an old school coach handed a video cassette of my team's game afterwards, I would just roll the bus over the cassette. I'd say, you know what, guys, that was bad. Like, there's no denying that was bad. But it was so bad that I'm willing to call it a blip on the radar. I'm willing to call it an anomaly. And they caught an Edmonton team. I mean, yes, Ekholm coming back gives them a bit of a boost, but they weren't facing Stuart Skinner even. They were facing Pickard. They just never got it going. And Edmonton burned them at every opportunity. Everything that could go wrong tonight for the Utah Hockey Club seemingly did. They made all the turnovers. They made all the bad plays. They made all the bonehead mistakes, right? They allowed all the breakaways. So maybe it's just better that they have a clunker and get it all out in one game. And maybe that's what this is. It's the end of a 3-game road swing. Not like the travel was torturous or anything. I mean, they only flew over from Vancouver and they had a day off in between. So that's not really an excuse. But we are at that point of the season. It is getting a little long. A veg starting 11 in a row is hard. And now they got a decision to make who they come back with on Thursday. But I really, Robyn, am hoping in my heart of hearts, if this team still has a playoff chance, that tonight was not indicative of where they're going, but a true and awful clunker of a game that everything went wrong, and you can only scratch your head at it because you can't possibly have all that happen in 60 minutes, right? Well, sometimes it does.
It does. Sometimes it's yes. Sometimes everything goes wrong. No matter what, no matter how good you try to, quote, fix it, it's just not your night. That seemed to be probably what happened for the Utah Hockey Club, and it definitely looked worse. And the reason why, again, we put worst loss of the season is because, well, I mean, it definitely showed, as you mentioned, the gap. 1, 2, it showed where they're lacking still, as we talked about over the course of the season. And 3, as I mentioned, the statistical biggest loss based off actual point deficit. And if they have any glimpse of playoff hope, we want to see them bounce back, because at this point, Tom, and we're gonna get into it, is it starting to look even tougher. The Calgary Flames and the St. Louis Blues winning, and at the time of this recording, the Vancouver Canucks were still leading the Winnipeg Jets. So those are the teams you want to go over. And if you're not winning, and if you lose on the same day that they all win, that's not going to look good for you.
No, and it's a bad loss at a bad time. Fortunately, the 2 points count the same. They could have lost 4-3. They lost 7-1. Do you feel better about it? No, you don't. But it happened. By the way, I did hit the over, and Nick Schmaltz hit a crossbar and denied me his anytime goal scorer. So, but yeah, that was just, Robyn, it's 2 points that you didn't get. And now you do need your vets. This is why you have guys on the team with experience, guys who've won Stanley Cups. So an Ole Mata or an Ian Cole can look them in the eyes and say, you know what? I've been on a team where we won a cup, but at some point during the year, and maybe even at a critical juncture, we got kicked in the butt pretty hard. It happens. But it also happens that you have another game to go right on to. You're going home. So you can stew in your own juices on the plane ride home tonight. And you could think about it. And by tomorrow, you better be over it because you got to get right back to it.
Mm-hmm. And for the next 3 games, they're at home. It's an opportunity to just forget about it, as you said. Just like put this one, as you said, to kind of like burn the tape, run over it, whatever you want to do with it, and come back for home to host Buffalo first, and you got the Lightning and the Red Wings. Is how you're going to handle this 3-game home stretch, because you got to take advantage of that home ice. Delta Center has been getting rocking lately, so take advantage of it.
Get back to basics. That's it. Just be positionally sound, be smart with the puck. Don't turn it over unnecessarily. Just make those smart decisions, make the short passes, hit the plays. And Buffalo's not Edmonton. You've got a real good chance to turn things around here. But again, they have a decision to make in net. So that'll be interesting, if nothing else. So that's us. We're trying to put a bow on the 7-1 loss to the Edmonton Oilers. Everybody around the Utah Hockey Club took care of business, or is taking care of business in the case of Vancouver, as Robyn mentioned at the time of the recording. So they didn't help Utah in any way, but still not too far gone. But so let's go ahead, Robyn, and I do want to talk about the NHL owner rankings, because I think that's pretty interesting, and we've got certainly some comparisons that we can make. And we'll wrap up our thoughts here on this game in just a moment.
And today's episode is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives business flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for your project or long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can help connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork finds those affordable top-tier freelancers to scale my business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now to post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. And today's episode is also brought to you by the Salt Lake Bees. The Salt Lake Bees have a brand new hive and the thrill of America's favorite pastime at the ballpark at America First Square in downtown Daybreak. Opening day is Tuesday, April 8th. Come kick off the season with giveaways, family fun, and professional baseball, all in an all-new setting. This season, the Bees are bringing more than just baseball. They're bringing unforgettable experiences for every type of fan, including firework and drone nights, lighting up the sky all season long. Bark in the Park. Bring your dog to the game for 9 special games. Themed games like Superman Night and Cowboy Weekend. Sunday brunch at the ballpark every Sunday. Plus 3 Abejas nights celebrating culture and community. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit slbs.com for tickets and the full season schedule with wallet-friendly pricing, premium seating, and family-friendly zones. There is seats for everyone, every fan at the ballpark at America First Square. Visit slbs.com and join the Bees this season.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
All right, Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you as we are kind of trying to, I don't know, I guess wrap our arms around this one a little bit, Robyn. Before we kind of move on from this, anything else that you want to talk about coming out of this game against Edmonton? Anything you noticed, or just do you think we've done all we can do here and we should just shovel the dirt over the coffin?
Yeah, you know what? I'll say it. I'll say it how you mentioned it earlier, Tom. At this point, let's just get back on that bus and just roll. Just run the tape over with it. Let's forget about it.
I'm down for that. We definitely should do that. So it's a tough one, but again, hey, look, Utah fans, it's one game. It's 2 points. It's 2 points you would have liked to have had, but you weren't the favorite going in.
One final thought I will give out there, and it's funny because I put a tweet out there on the Locked On Utah Twitter account, and it reminded me that there are a lot of Jazz fans out there who have been used to a really poor season this year. So they said, "Hey, we're used to this, so this is nothing to us." And I'm like, I feel for you guys then.
Growing pains. It's all
Exactly.
growing pains, not for the Jazz, but for Utah Hockey Club. So, all right, Robyn, NHL owner rankings. Those came out. They were posted by The Athletic, and kind of interesting. It was a letter grade, anything from an A+ to an F. One franchise got an F. I don't know if it's all that surprising, but that was the Buffalo Sabres. Then there were a couple of A's and basically a smattering everywhere else for every other franchise. B's, mostly B's and C's, a couple of D's in there. And as I mentioned, just only the one F. So, Robyn, first of all, let's talk about the Utah Hockey Club grade of a B+ and your thoughts on that. Is that appropriate in your opinion?
I think it is. Not only that, but also just overall labeling Ryan Smith ranked, actually, because it is, labeling 1 through 32, Ryan Smith being number 8 among NHL owners. And I feel like it's fair. I mean, like, there might be some in some people's minds, it could be a little bit inflated because of the comparison to the previous ownership, which we'll get to in a little bit. But from my experience, I feel like it's fair just because of, what we're seeing is an owner who's willing to spend money, who's putting a lot of resources in, not only into the team, but into just the community around, into the arena, into building hockey fan and building the fan base and building the community. And they seem to be making sure the fans are having a good time.
Well, and so that's part of it. And some of the way they did the breakdown on this, there were 3 different categories of fan base evaluation, confidence in the owner, and then final scores. This is what I think is interesting. So they had an athletic score and a fan base score. First of all, part of the fan base evaluation, treatment of the fan base, they ranked 4th most positive in the NHL. So I think that speaks volumes to how Ryan Smith and his group have come in and wanted to treat this franchise and this organization. This one kind of made me roll my eyes a little bit or smirk. Confidence in owner 2025 versus 2024. Higher, they are the 2nd best higher ranking in the NHL at 79%. But there were people who actually thought that having Ryan Smith was the same as the previous ownership group, 17%, and 4% of people polled thought it was lower confidence in the owner to have Ryan Smith at the helm. That, by the way, was 8th highest in the NHL. Now, Robyn, I'm not here to fanboy over Ryan Smith, but what? Are there really 4% of the fan base that thinks Ryan Smith have less confidence in Ryan Smith than I'll go back 3 ownership groups for the Coyotes? Really?
Oh my God.
gonna rise on me? And if that was the case, it worked.
I
Because
Look.
what?
look. You ask me, right? And you take a look. You take a look back to almost a year ago of the episode I did in the last game for the Arizona Coyotes and how emotional I got because of what this team meant. What the Coyotes in Arizona meant to me. But here's the thing, Tom. Even the Coyotes fans or people who had an emotional connection to the Arizona Coyotes, they know how terrible, absolutely terrible Alex Morello is. That anytime he comes up in the news, still like the fact that he wanted this, the fact that he was trying to sue ASU to get their get the security deposit back from Mullet Arena, like everyone was just like, just go away. We don't want you anymore. I don't want to hear from you a single word from you. That's how bad it got. That's how bad the Morello, the Arizona's relationship specifically, or just hockey fans' relationship, anybody's relationship with that previous ownership. Plus, you go to all the whole, controversies around the Barroway ownership, and you go plus like that. Like, yeah, I do not understand how there is a percentage like that. The 4% is what are you comparing here? What are you comparing here? Because it is a night and day difference. And you're right, Tom. We're not trying to fanboy on Ryan Smith here. We're not trying to say he's like he's the savior of the franchise, but it doesn't take a genius to realize that there is a night and day difference here.
Yeah, it's so I'm thankful that Ryan Smith is doing everything he does for this Utah Hockey Club, and I just don't see how that was a response. But Robyn, I do want to throw out there a couple of things. Top ranked team owner was Jeff Vinik of the Lightning. Second was Vinny Viola of the Florida Panthers, got an A grade. Bill Foley of Vegas got an A grade. Tom Gagliardi of the Dallas Stars gets an A. Tom Stillman, St. Louis Blues, gets an A. Ted Leonsis of the Capitals gets an A-, and Stan Kroenke of the Avalanche gets an A-. Then, of course, the first B grade is the B+ for Ryan Smith. All the way down at the bottom, told you Buffalo was last with that F. They are the only F. Robyn, this will not surprise you, but in their fan base evaluation, in every single corner, willingness to spend, organizational stability, treatment of the fan base, and franchise vision, dead last in the NHL. And confidence in owner last year versus this year, only 4% of the Sabres fan base has more confidence. 61% have less confidence. So that's pretty awful. But just in front of Buffalo with a D+, Vancouver Canucks owner Francesco Aquilini. That's rough. That was the only other D-level grade. After that, we move all the way up to Murray Edwards of the Flames with a C. So, yikes. That's a tough one, Robyn, but that's not good company to keep. But again, hey, I'm scratching my head as to what's happening in Canucks land right now. But if they win enough games, they're going to sneak into the playoffs anyway, and they can right the ship in the offseason.
I mean, it could very well end up that way. It could very well end up that way. But I will also say there was I think there was a joke on social media. You pointed it out, and I saw it too, Tom, where people talk. It's like, hey, they just so the Sabres feel better, they should have put Alex Morello up there anyways. Just to
he would have gotten F.
He would have gotten F minus. He would have gotten an F minus. Let's be real.
Yeah, the first ever F- handed out. He would have been right there hand in hand with Terry Pegula of the Buffalo Sabres. That's a tough place to be. So I feel bad. Obviously, again, I'm a Buffalo guy. I feel bad for the fan base. I still have a ton of friends who are diehard Sabres fans, and it's just a struggle. So look, Utah fans, it could always be worse. And in 24 other cities, the Athletic says it is. So, just think about that. Obviously, it's not the be all and end all. What do you think? Is B+ a fair grade? Would you have graded higher? Would you have graded lower? What are your thoughts on the GM grades? So let us know.
Absolutely, let us know. We would definitely want to hear because maybe Maybe we're too high as well. Maybe we're talking a little too high. Maybe you guys have a little more criticism than we do. That's all.
Well, I'm smarter than everyone, so I know that my opinion is the correct one. So, no, I'm just kidding. But seriously, we do appreciate you commenting and talking about the topics with us. We love getting into this stuff, and certainly you can always reach out to us on social media. Robyn, where can they find the show these days?
Yeah, they can find us just about everywhere on social media. I think primarily most of the social media content you'll see we post on the app formerly known as Twitter. We now some people call it X at LO_NHL Utah. You can follow me at Robyn_Leaño. I'm also on Blue Sky. You can follow me there at Robyn Ice Time.
And I am on Blue Sky 99% of the time at Tom Talks. I'll be honest with you, I didn't post much tonight because I didn't have much to say about that game, but that's all right. We'll be right back to chirping in the next couple of days here. So that was a rough one, but we appreciate you being a part of the show. Tell your friends, and we appreciate you making us your first listen every single day. Hey, don't forget there are other great Locked On podcasts, including the National NHL show, and we will have another NHL squad show dropping a little bit later this week. So thanks for tuning us in, everybody. For Robyn, I'm Tom. We'll catch you next time on the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.